Well, for the Pennsylvania Dutch trips, there were certainly a few big highlights for me. The food, which my dad already alluded to, we would always go to Good and Plenty for at least one family-style dinner. We would always go to Diener's, this very, very local Mennonite-owned sort of family-style diner-ish restaurant, at least once, if not twice. To Miller's, which was a vast smorgasbord, usually for brunch. And so all of that was always sort of a highlight, as were the Hershey visits, Sturgis Pretzel Factory, which is this wonderful, very hands-on place where you get to see people making pretzels, get keychains.
All right.
And they were very good pretzels. And so all of that was fun. There was this place called Mr. 3L, which was a really distinctive, crazy, enormous, multi-story place that basically sold stuff like this.
Oh, okay.
But there would be rooms of magazines, rooms of old newspapers, rooms of records, rooms of books, rooms, just stuff. And some of it was pretty junky, but some of it was very cool. Old advertising, movie posters, a lot of 40s to 60s or 70s kind of stuff. And even as a little kid, I enjoyed looking through that also, and would always find something or other that was interesting. And so we'd usually spend a good few hours there. Likewise at Moyer's Book Barn, which was outside of, sort of slightly on the outskirts of Pennsylvania Dutch country. What's the town?
Strasburg.
Still
there, we went.
Really?
Yeah, still there.
Still mediocre.
Still mediocre, it's still a very musty smell.
Yeah, very close to Village Greens, that golf course. Yeah. So that was always a combined venture. And just the atmosphere. So Dutch Wonderland, also the amusement park. When I was really young, that was at least a good full day, if not a couple days. The wonderful car ride. There was a log flume that you'd climb up to the very top, and it had a very elaborate and soggy course down, which in the middle of the summer was excellent. And it's just a really nice, sort of nice scale, very high level attractions, kind of place. So that was always a highlight. And otherwise, just the atmosphere of being there, as my dad said, it's familiar, but you really know you're not in Connecticut when you're there. Mm-hmm. It feels very middle American in a way. I remember as a little kid always noticing how the percentage of American cars versus foreign there was astronomically higher than it is here. That it would be 80% instead of 40%. There were Chevys and Fords everywhere, and here it's a sea of like Volvos and whatever. But you could feel that sort of cultural shift there, and all the restaurant, the sort of very heavy family style food and Amish buggies, and it's just, you really are not in Connecticut. And I think there's something fun about that, especially since it's only a few hour drive.
Did you ever get to be a teenager and think to yourself, well, I don't want to take that same trip, I want to do something different?
Yeah, I don't really remember when we stopped going.
I mean, I felt that.
Right.
Because my little brother being 12 years younger, by the time my parents wanted to take that same trip but with him when he was 5, I was already either about to go to college or in college. So I did it for a few years, and then I was like, okay, I think that's enough,
And I think probably sometime when I was in late middle school or early high school, I probably had that feeling. And I think probably that's when we stopped doing it regularly. But we've definitely been back at least a few times as a family, and I think your enthusiasm for it has not yet waned.
No.
So,
And are there any other road trips that you remember? Like, did you go on a college trip? Did you go to your grandparents? Did you go to family reunions? Anything like that?
Yeah. Well, we took one big trip right after my bar mitzvah that was a really serious road trip. All the way to, let's see, what was the order of things? It was down first and up and then back down.
Yeah, the ultimate destination was actually Windsor, Ontario, across the river from Detroit. And that's because I had a conference there. And again, the time he was 13, it was right after his bar mitzvah, and our intention was to go to as many bookstores. There used to be a guide to use bookstores for every region of the country, so I think we circled them. We probably had about 50 on our list.
We probably hit 30 or something. I mean, it was pretty serious.
Bookstores, unusual local foods. Remember the one in, what was it, Toledo? Paco's?
Tony Paco's Pickles.
Tony Paco's Pickles. Oh my God, it was great. And baseball games.
Yeah, so we saw a Pirates game.
Oh,
We
that's
saw an
cool.
Expos game. Did we go? Was it Montreal? No.
We did, because
Yeah.
we made it a loop. Now, Basie and I went together first, because his mom, my wife, had to stay in Connecticut to play a gig. And so she flew out to Detroit, and we picked her up, and I think then we went to Henry Ford's American Village, or whatever.
Greenfield
it was.
Village. Yep.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Greenfield Village.
And the Henry
Oh,
Ford Museum, which
if
is
you're
wonderful.
a car guy.
Henry Ford
that's-
Museum is
Oh,
awesome.
yes.
That's a place to be, yeah, exactly.
So I think we went to Pittsburgh. We
Which was
loved-
really nice.
Pittsburgh is like, wow, this is nice. Wonderful bridges. It's a really, everything about it, we really, Calabian books. We saw a Pirates game, PNC Park, which
That's
I
nice.
still think is one of the nicest parks I've ever been in. Ultimately, we wound up in Detroit, but we made a loop back around and we went to Montreal, Toronto. Went to Toronto.
Yep.
Yep, Toronto and maybe Niagara Falls, I forget.
I think so.
Yep.
Yeah, it was a big arc, and it was only over a couple weeks span, so it was a lot of
Yeah.
driving. Sorry, I could not have helped with that. But,
Yeah,
I love things
so that
like
was that was a big one. We would drive up every summer or every other summer to visit my godmother on the coast of Maine, just north of Bar Harbor. So I definitely remember that drive, and having now done it a few times myself, I
and
appreciate it.
if you got off 95 and you were on Route 1, you could go to all the lobster places and the
And do.
small towns and,
Definitely. And
So-
sort of certain landmarks, like you get to Portland, the sort of Wells, Kennebunkport area is a landmark. You get to Portland and you check that off. You get to Bangor and you check that off. You get to Ellsworth and you check that off. And then finally, 45 more minutes, you get to where you're going.
Oh, and what's the place that's a little bit like Mr. 3L up in Ellsworth, is it?
It's not really like
It's
Mr.
not like Mr. 3L, because it doesn't, he had like just mountains
big
of
chicken
stuff.
barn.
The big chicken barn. It was more of a bookstore, but it had a little bit of that quality. So, and we have, for a long time, tended to check things off by the order of bookstores. And what's that first
That's
bookstore?
really,
That where you cross into Maine? That good one that's in southern Maine.
oh. They don't-
Yeah, no, that's okay. It was just, and then the Maine diner. So there's certain things that were landmarks that we like to go to.
and basically, I know you have to go, but do you attribute your love of cars to road trips?
I think I loved cars first. And the road trips were a helpful step along there. But the old stuff and the books and all, the sort of historical mindset, definitely in part from all of the hunting from an early age. Yeah.
And I think that you have this too, because now he goes on trips without us and by himself or with friends. And but I think we all now share. For us road trips, I was thinking about this. It's like we love the exploration. I love to find a new place and go to new, interesting local places. Not just, I think by the time Basie was a kid, and I was thinking about this, and when I was a child, my mother worked in stores. Shopping was not part of the trip. She didn't care that much. She did love to shop. We all like to shop in our family. But that wasn't a part of these vacations. It was the historical, the cultural, the food, the fun. But by the time Basie was a kid, shopping became a little bit more part of it. And I shouldn't say there was none of that, because one of the early places that I think a lot of people went in that direction to Pennsylvania Dutch Country in Philadelphia was early outlet stores in King of Prussia, Pennsylvania.
Oh.
It's a thing. And the first outlet stores I know were in the Providence area. It was Ann and Hope, I think. But early outlet stores were in King of Prussia. We stopped a couple of times, but by the time he was a little bit older, we loved to go to Mr. 3L, which was a really fun stop for us. And we occasionally, so outlet stores are now in Pennsylvania Dutch Country as well. Not for us, it's not the draw, but we'll stop.
But I do think what you were saying about the the exploratory sort of mindset.
Yeah.
I know I've been fortunate that most of my work travel is to places that would be conventionally considered nice, but the couple of times that they've been places that maybe are a little bit less conventionally considered nice, I feel like I have an attitude that a lot of my friends or peers or colleagues wouldn't have about finding something good even in a place that looks very unpromising, because you know, I know that it's possible to go to, you know, Toledo and find Tony Pacco's pickles and have a really great time discovering that this place makes amazing. You know,
So-
like there's always something interesting. If you don't find something interesting in a particular region, it's really that you aren't looking hard enough for it.